Brent Ridge and Josh Kilmer-Purcell, co-founders of Beekman 1802 and co-authors of Goat Wisdom, How to Build a Truly Great Business. So nice to meet you guys, and thank you so much for being here.
Oh, great to be here. We've enjoyed listening to you and love what you're doing.
Well, we very much appreciate you, and we love what you're doing. First of all, let me just say, this is the first time I've ever met you guys, but I already love both of you. And it's because of what you do and how you do it, what you've done in your careers separately, and where you are right now in leading this company. And maybe it has a lot to do with Beekman 1802's mission. When you go on your website, it states you believe that there's a beauty in kindness, and that you are on a mission to create a kinder world. And that is so much of what we are about, showing how kindness, caring, love is actually a part of business and creates value. And so you are really the poster child for what we're talking about. And I think one of the best ways to start off is to probably find out what led you to creating a company this way and what Beekman 1802 is all about.
Absolutely. And I love what you said, that it adds to the bottom line. We always say it's not kindness. It's not a soft thing. We call it killer kindness. It's a competitive advantage in business.
I love that.
And we actually, we started, both Brent and I have corporate backgrounds. Brent was a physician, worked at the hospital. Then Martha Stewart tapped him to start her health and wellness division of her company. I was in advertising for many years. I wrote several books. So we both came from a very corporate background. And then in 2006, we were driving in upstate New York, just taking a weekend off, going apple picking. And we came across this farm. We fell in love with it. It was for sale. We bought it, just thinking it was going to be a weekend getaway. And then right after we bought it, we got a letter in our mailbox from a neighboring farmer, Farmer John, and he was losing his farm and he had 80 goats. He had nowhere to bring them. He put a letter in our mailbox and said, "You've got a little cottage there. If I live in the cottage and bring my goats, I'll help you take care of the farm." And we said, "Sure, that'd be great." We had no plans of starting a business, but we always say that first act of kindness, taking in our neighbor, was what eventually started our business without even knowing we were going to have one. Because it was 2 years later, 2008, big recession. We both lost our jobs within 30 days of each other. All we had in the whole world was this farm, John, and 80 goats. And we literally Googled, what can we make with goat milk? And the first thing that came up was soap. And we started around our dining room and table. And that was the beginning of our business.
Oh, wow. What an incredibly great origin story. Wow. Okay. So what was your reasoning for wanting, to make this a business and not just a hobby?
Desperation. It was in the Great Recession, and we were looking around at all of our friends in New York City who had lost their jobs, particularly in creative and media industries. And, at that point in time, you really couldn't see the end of the recession. And we had this huge mortgage on the farm, plus a homeless farmer and 100 goats that needed to be fed. So it really was, desperation was our best motivation. And so we just looked around at what assets that we had and said, okay, what can we make with what we have? And that's how we started. And we worked with our neighbors in our little community of Sharon Springs, New York. And they helped us get our business up and running. That's why even to this day, we call every customer a neighbor. We don't have customer services, we have neighbor services. And going back to that original act of kindness, that's why kindness is still the most important thing. We say it's the most important ingredient, even more important than the nutrients from the goat milk that we extract. Kindness is the most important ingredient in everything that we make, because without it, we wouldn't be here.
And to your point earlier, it's not kindness just as a marketing term. We actually do the research, we fund the research, actual scientific research, to show how kindness can improve an organization, how it can improve your bottom line. We work with kindness.org. We just released a study last year for the first time ever, you being able to actually measure kindness within an organization, scientifically measured kindness, and then you can attribute it to the bottom line and the performance of an organization. So for us, it's not just a like fluffy, oh, we're a good, nice, kind company. It's like, if we're kind, we will win.
And I love that. And because, like I said, it's such a big part of what we talk about. When we talk about capitalism, we go back to the philosophical roots of it with Adam Smith. And I don't know if either of you guys have ever had the chance to read The Theory of Moral Sentiment by Adam Smith, which was kind of his other book besides The Wealth of Nations. And he really looks at, very much like you're talking about with kindness.org, he looks at the numbers and he looks at the proofs of how helping others leads to success and how we are all connected and we really want to see the betterment of others. So there's this thing called extended self-interest, where the betterment of your community, the betterment of your neighbors, the betterment of those around you leads to more happiness inside of you and more success with you. And it sounds like that's what you guys are, really tapping into in a huge way. I also love the fact that you're very honest about how you started this out of desperation, but I would say inspiration, economic inspiration, right? We all need to make money, and we all need to put a roof over our heads and feed ourselves. Wouldn't it be great? And maybe it's supposed to be that we figure out a way to do that also helps others, so that we're all benefiting. Kind of sounds like that is exactly what you did. And take us now to the products, and how you went from, okay, we need to do something, we've got all these goats, we can do all these things with goat milk. How do you then decide on the types of products and how you're going to make those products? Because it's pretty amazing what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, well, we first started making the original bars of soap using the goat milk directly from our farm. And as we started, growing the business, and we had some key partners at the very beginning of the company, Anthropology, Henry Bendel in New York City. And as we started getting anecdotal reports from people who were using the product about how it was impacting particularly people with sensitive skin, then I just started researching the goat milk. I went back to my research days and just started researching what could it be in the goat milk that could be helping these people with psoriasis and eczema and inflammatory skin issues. And goat milk had been used for thousands of years. You can go to virtually any culture in the world and there's someone selling goat milk soap. And we're the first ones to really examine what could be the components of goat milk that are impacting the surface of people's skin. And so as we started doing that research, the products just naturally started formulating. And now we're the world's largest company using goat milk as the primary ingredient in our products, and really looking at how those 31 key nutrients in the goat milk influence the barrier of the skin and the microbiome of the skin. And the way kindness comes into that is that obviously so many of the inflammatory conditions that we have on our skin comes as a result of not being kind to our skin. What are we exposing our skin to in our environment and the types of products that we choose? And so we say, hey, when you choose BEEKMAN, you are choosing a product that is kinder to your skin because we have researched that.
And the thing, even more important than the ingredient itself, kindness. You know that feeling you get when you do something kind, or somebody does something kind to you, and you get that glow. Like
Right.
that's a real thing. That's a real physical reaction. That's a release of dopamine. And Brent, you're the doctor. He has all the $2 words.
The oxytocin, the serotonin, like it's a surge.
Exactly. It's a real. Yeah. So there's a real physical benefit to being kind to yourself and being kind to others that helps your entire health, including your skincare, which is what we're concerned with.
And the skin's what the biggest organ on the body, right? And when that is healthy, we feel healthy in so many other ways. And what an extraordinary thing, to do.
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Chris, so many people look at, the beauty industry, the skin health industry, and think it's something very superficial. Um, but what we like to say is those moments of self-care, which we call self-kindness, those rituals that you have every day that get you started for your day or help you close out your day, those moments of self-kindness have a ripple effect. Because if you walk out the door feeling better about yourself because you have done something for yourself, you are going to be kinder when you go out the door. And every subsequent person that you meet in the world, you're going to extend that kindness to. So we never say that self-kindness is selfish. As you're talking about with Adam Smith, you want to see other people be better. But in order for other people to be better, you have to be better too. You have to like yourself in order to like other people. And it becomes this virtuous circle.
Oh my God, bingo. You just hit it on the head so powerfully, better than I could have even ever said it, because that is at the heart, what we believe, that's at the heart of capitalism, is we make the best of ourselves and our lives, and that improves the lives of others in 100 different ways. And that's what you guys are doing. So along those lines, we featured you in our authenticity feature last month, because you guys are naturally authentic. But you said something so powerful. We asked you for a quote, and you said that authenticity and community have always been central to our success. But as social media became the most prominent communication, we knew that we had an obligation to select people who inherently have the DNA of the brand and can speak authentically in their own voice. And then you go on to explain how you used the research from kindness.org to come up with this questionnaire, and in order to make sure you were hiring kind people.
That's correct.
That's pretty extraordinary. And how did that happen? First of all, how'd you come to decide to do that exactly? And then what was the result?
Well, we had started working with kindness.org a couple of years ago. First, as just a charity partner for our company. And in talking to the researchers there, the research team there is headed by Dr. Oliver Curry from Oxford University. And he does a lot of work in social psychology. And he was putting together this idea of how to measure kindness in work environments, and had created this questionnaire, but did not have enough quantity of people taking it to really scientifically validate the tool. And so we made a big contribution to support that research so that we could actually have a scientifically validated tool. We brought in a lot of our existing partners, including Ulta Beauty and some of our other business contacts, so that we could get that number of people taking it within corporations so that we could truly measure it. And then once we got that validated tool, we said, okay, how can we take that into the social sphere? Because not just beauty industry is, of course, huge in social media. And I don't think any consumer product company can do business these days without having a social media presence. And so then we actually worked with one of the largest social media agencies called Tracker to actually deploy the questionnaire out to hundreds and hundreds of people who identify as social media influencers, so that we could still get more robust data about how this kindness quotient could measure kindness among social media influencers. And then when we were developing our own internal social media team, we said, okay, let's take this kindness quotient and use that as a screening tool so that anybody that we incorporate to speak on behalf of Beekman 1802, we know are already going to have this threshold of kindness.
Yeah, and that was the real difference. We call it the kindness crew. And for people who might not be familiar with the beauty industry in specific, what you do is you hire hundreds and thousands of influencers on social media, and it can be trade out for product, or some you actually pay, or you give an affiliate program, and you collect hundreds and thousands of influencers to speak about your product. Now, normally beauty companies, or all companies, just look for people who have the highest amount of followers. That's how they value their influencers. And Brent and I felt, our team felt that in the beauty industry in particular, influencers can be very tough, especially for young people watching them. In the beauty industry, it can be very harsh when you're talking about beauty and you start talking about people who aren't beautiful or have flaws, and that's not the Beekman way. So we screened all of our influencers, we call them the kindness crew, not on how many followers they had, but how they did on the kindness quotient. We looked at all of their comments, all the people, all their followers too, and commented on them. Were they nice to each other? Were they making fun of each other? Were they trolling others or not? Were they mean to other influencers? So we actually brought on our team, our kindness crew, based on truly how kind they were and how kind their community was. And this is the result. This is what I love, because it means nothing if you don't have results. On the biggest measure of earned media value, which is the value of free media, basically.
Right.
We went from the 165th largest beauty brand to now we are the 35th.
Wow.
Largest, and that is in the course of less than 1 year and a quarter.
Kindness pays.
It does. and you know what, Chris, it pays in multiple ways, not only in key metrics like the EMV, but also when you look at, okay, right now our kindness crew is 2,000 people. So that's 2,000 people constantly producing content, constantly putting out kind messages out into the universe on social media. And we think that has more value than any number of product sales, because you're amplifying the voices of kindness. And that's what we need more of, in today's world, particularly in the social sphere.
I love that. But as far as products go, you guys are doing okay. Give me a few of the numbers as far as growth goes since you started.
Since we started the company, or since we started the kindness crew?
Well, you know what? I'd like to hear both, actually.
Yeah, well, today, we've been in business now for 16 years doing the research on goat milk, and our key distribution partners are Ulta Beauty, QVC, HSN, and of course the Beekman 1802 website. And now, we've grown into nearly $100 million company. And
Wow.
it really is because we have always focused on the idea of every customer is a neighbor. We treat every customer as a neighbor. And we make sure that even if a customer comes into one of our retail locations, or they come to our website, or they interact with us on one of the social media platforms, even if they are not buying something during that interaction, they're still leaving with kindness. And so they're leaving with free kindness. And we know that at some point, they're going to come back to us because of the feeling that they got from that moment of kindness. So it really is, whether that there's an immediate return on the investment or it's a more protracted return on the investment, we know that return on investment is there.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're the number one beauty brand across QVC and HSN, and we did that in 5 years. They've been around for 40 years. Wow. And we still hear from neighbors who have never bought a single Beekman product, but they watch every single time that we're on QVC and HSN. And to us, that's still a win. They're still getting that kindness.
I absolutely love that. One of my favorite things that was ever told to me was by Tony Hsieh, who was the founder of Zappos years ago, and unfortunately, had a troubled ending to his life, but had an amazing company that he grew out of this concept of creating happiness. And he used to tell me about this one customer that never kept a single product. She just kept returning everything. But he said that's one of our greatest success stories, because she keeps coming back, and we're
yeah.
We're creating a lot of happiness in her life. So to your point, this is great that you're creating happiness, and you're creating a sense of meaning in people's lives and whatnot, in connecting to others and connecting to neighbors, and that's a huge win.
It is, and to go back to what you were saying earlier about winning means winning for everybody. I think anyone who has been in business for a long time, the nature of business is transactional, right? It's transactional with the customer, transaction with your partners, transaction with your employees, and all of us who have been in business for a while, the best results you've had are in win-win negotiations. It's easy to win lose. It's super easy to lose, but it's easy to win lose. It's really hard to take those extra steps to get to a win-win negotiated outcome. And in the new book, Goat Wisdom, we talk about how it's sort of those old, that old wisdom that we have in us. We know that a negotiation that ends with both sides winning is better. You just feel it. And the book talks about all these old maxims that we grew our business with, that sort of shut out all the noise of today's social media. Get rich quick. Get rich and just quick. Go back to what what we know intrinsically is true, and what we've been taught as children is true.
Thank you for that wonderful segue, so I don't have to ask the question. So I think you gave a nice little lead into the book. But what made you decide to write that book, and how do you think that book could affect or change business in America?
Mm-hmm. Well, we were approached by Harvard Business Review to do a book that told our story of how we grew this Main Street business. Right, we started our kitchen table, started with one retail shop on our Main Street in Little Sharon Springs, New York. And it is a wonderful, inspiring story in and of itself. But we really wanted to do something that was not only told our narrative, but was very prescriptive at the same time. So how could all of these other small to mid-sized Main Street businesses, what could they learn from our experience and how we scaled our business? And, as Josh was saying, what we knew was that so much of what people see in current media as success are someone like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or, really successful people, but those are not the only models of success. Mm-hmm. You can be a very successful, happy business person on your Main Street, in your small town or in your community. And so we really wanted to give those businesses the tools so that they could be really successful. And as Josh said, what we went back to were all of the kind of maxims and proverbs, what we call tried and truisms, things that often were rooted in agriculture, proverbs that were started and have been passed down, like make hay while the sun shines, those types of things. And what's so interesting about these proverbs is that there are variations of these proverbs in every culture in the world that are all saying the same thing because they are truisms. They have been tried and they have been vetted and they are true. And if we build our businesses on the foundation of the things that we know are true, you are going to have a great business. It's when we get caught up in trying to become a unicorn or trying to make a buck really quick.
Day trading by this plan with Cybercoin,
right.
we get obsessed with that.
And that's where we trip ourselves up. And I want to say that those are also legitimate business models. If your business model is to make a lot of money really quick and then maybe lose a lot of money or not, depending on how smart you are at your business. But if you truly want to build a great business, a legacy business, you have to have a much better foundation than some of the principles that we have been putting out into the world in our business community and business communications.
I would say that there's two ways to reach the moon. You can build a rocket or you can build a ladder. And if you build a rocket, you might hit the moon, you might crash and have nothing. If you build a ladder, at least you're higher up than where you started.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I love everything that you're saying about this perspective on how to build a business, because it's so complementary to what we're about. The whole concept of social capital and the whole concept of, creating value from socially positive interactions and connections that will make your company grow and will make your business grow. And one of the reasons we started this center and we started interviewing people like yourselves is because your type of business just doesn't get enough attention. And who knows why. I mean, there's 100 reasons, but like you said, there's a lot of different ways to do business, but it tends to be, the Elon Musks of the world that get all the attention for good or bad, for better or for worse. But there's so many businesses out there like you and like that are doing this in a different way. And so we appreciate you so much for doing that. And give us a couple. I think you gave us one, but I'd love to hear a couple of other maxims or proverbs from the book that maybe are your favorites, that really can speak to people.
Well, I'll just go back to our our foundational maxim, which was love thy neighbor. And what's so interesting about love thy neighbor is that, again, you can find that concept in every culture in the world. There is some version of love thy neighbor. And in almost every religion, too, there is this concept of loving thy neighbor. And that's a very, very specific idea, because you cannot think about, or the mind cannot conceive how I can change the world or how I can better, the lives of 1,000 people. But you can wrap your brain around, hey, I can help the person standing right next to me or living right next to me. And guess what? If that person then helps the person living right next to them, and that person helps the person living theoretically next to them, you are changing the world, because neighbor by neighbor by neighbor, you are encircling the world and you're ultimately touching everybody. But the starting point is the person right next door. And that's our.
Yeah, and part of the reason we call our customers neighbors is not, again, it's not a cute marketing thing. It's so that our customer service team, our neighbor services team, thinks of it not as a one-time transaction when they're dealing with a customer or salespeople. A neighbor is somebody who's there forever, and you treat your neighbor a different way than you treat a customer, where you get a transaction and you're done. So just by choosing that terminology of neighbor, really strengthened our business and strengthened our connection with our customers.
And it is a real mindset, as Josh said, because obviously, yes, not all of our customers are neighbors. Not all of our social media followers are neighbors, so to speak, in terms of geography. But so much is made on social media about the anonymity of social media, and people feel comfortable saying things on social media that they would never say if they were face to face with someone. But if you're thinking of the person on the other side of the screen as your neighbor, it is a checks and balances on the types of language you're going to use to communicate to that person. And
so there was that, love your neighbor. We also have, and to one of your earlier points, an empty vessel makes the most noise. And that's, to your point, we always hear about these companies that, blow up overnight and they get all this attention, and then they're gone the next day. And that's primarily if you don't have anything, if you don't have a strong foundation, if you don't have anything real and authentic about your company, all you have is the ability to make noise. You can just make noise. And so when you hear a company that's getting a lot of attention, in the media, chances are they're just making noise.
Well, that's so awesome. And you guys have so much to say, and we could talk for hours. And I would love to, actually, in many other times. And even after we finish today, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more. But we're going to sign off for now so that we can have you back again and talk about a lot of these other ideas and concepts. But I love them all. And, the big takeaway is treating people as your neighbor is profitable and works, and profitable in so many ways. And you guys have proven it with your company, not only with the numbers, but with the loyalty of your customers, and this kindness brigade, of influencers, which I love that you have created. So obviously, people can buy your products in a lot of different places or directly on your website, the Beekman 1802 website, and the name of the book, Goat Wisdom: How to Build a Truly Great Business. So we'll, of course, promote that book and talk about it on our website, but would advise all of our viewers to go there and check it out. And thank you guys, Brent Ridge, Josh Kilmer-Purcell. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here and spending some quality time informing our viewers and giving a lot of other business leaders some great ideas.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for inspiring everyone.
Thank you. Hey, guys, that was wonderful. Oh, my God. I love you guys. I really do.
Oh, good.